everybody who will listen to this now or later. Um, Welcome to our webinar titled Insight to 2024 Indian Elections. I think I just heard it's been recorded now. So, okay, welcome to our webinar titled Insight to 2024 Indian Elections. So I'm Muad Zaki, a senior fellow at the Asia Middle East Center, and I'll be your host today. So we're delighted to have you join us for what promises to be a fascinating discussion on recent monumental elections in India, a nation that is supposed to stand as a beacon of vibrant democracy in the world. So in recent years, we have seen India's domestic and international politics shift to the right, which some might argue has become a danger for India's secular democracy, and an unproductive shift in funding, I would say, in funding priorities away from public services like healthcare and education towards more religious-based programs and cultural-based programs, right? So, of course, the speakers will maybe touch on this and other areas. And uh, so today, like, we are privileged to have the two distinguished journalists with us, each bringing a wealth of knowledge about Indian politics that I would never be able to read from all the books I can read, I think. So I'm very happy to have them here. And they will go through and explain to us the political landscape of India and the ruling party and the notable challenges that we are facing in India right now. So let me go ahead, and our first speaker would be Mr. Prashant. You may introduce yourself, and then after that, you can go ahead with what you'll talk about.
Thanks, Muad and Anas, for for inviting me here. I'm Prashant Tandon, and I'm a Delhi-based journalist in India, and I worked in many news channels as editor, and nowadays I'm an independent journalist attached with a few media houses and a couple of think tanks. So this is what I do, and we've been, before I start my talk, we've been very active on YouTube on this election, and on the result day, we were being watched by 12 crore people. I know, sizable percentage of Indian population, uh, around 1%. So that around 1% of Indian population was watching us. So that's a huge number. 12 crore, maybe how many lakhs, how many millions? 120,
Yes,
120
120 million.
million. 120 million people were watching us on that day. See, the Indian democracy is basically, a role model for many countries, and especially for emerging democracies. The average life of constitution around the world is 17 to 18 years. Our constitution is never suspended, and it's more than 70 years now. So that is the one aspect of Indian democracy which is very vibrant, very huge, and very colorful, and full of challenges and topsy-turvy uh, journey. Uh, today we are observing uh, anniversary of emergency of 1975, where many fundamental rights of the constitution were suspended, and Indian people reverted that with their agitation, with their resolve, and defeated Mrs. Indira Gandhi in 1977. And Mrs. Gandhi came back again in 1980 with a huge majority again. But Indian people, there is I always say, democracy is in our DNA. So nobody can suspend that. Nobody can put on hold. And this election also, shown that resolve of the people that democracy cannot be taken so easily and so casually by the political parties, and especially the ruling party. Before I come to this election, let's see what happened in Indian society in the last 20, 25 years. Our journey as an independent country was very painful. We had a partition. Partition was very painful. Lots of population came. A new country was born, Pakistan, and then on the demand of Muslim League, and that partition, which is described that that partition was on the basis of religion as per Jinnah's demand. But in India, we never saw that it was on the basis of religion. So it's a different debate altogether. We discuss that some other time. But Pakistan was born as a Islamic country. India was born as a secular democratic country uh, with democracy at its roots. And our founding fathers and founding mothers gave this constitution in 1950. Uh, that was the basis of our democracy and how we evolve ourselves as a nation. So this is what the foundation of Indian democracy. And since then, transition of power has been very, very smooth. Even after the emergency, when Mrs. Indira Gandhi lost, the transition to the winning party was very smooth. So never came a moment here in India where we had a martial law, where we had a dictatorship. So this is a brief background of the journey of Indian democracy. And we had coalition governments, we had single party rule, we had a, a government run by federal forces, government run by national parties. So different kind of experiments happened in the past. Last 10 years were very significant. When Mr. Narendra Modi came to power in 2014, Mr. Modi's background is very noteworthy. He comes from RSS, an organization which is not registered, an organization which opposed Indian constitution, uh, an organization which never participated in freedom struggle, and it's basically a Hindu chauvinist, Hindu upper caste organization, and treat other people, especially minorities, not legally but uh, notionally as second-grade citizens. Mr. Modi is from that background, and before he became the prime minister for 12 years, he was chief minister of Gujarat. And in Gujarat, we have seen 2002 genocide, where over 2,000 Muslims were killed, and the role of government and the police were very, very questionable. There were big human rights violations. And Mr. Modi came to Delhi in 2014 with that background. And he has been running the government since he has come with that background. Many intellectuals thought, many opinion leaders thought that he would change when he come to government. I had a different view on that. I knew that Mr. Modi is not going to change, and he did not change. So he came with this baggage of politics of hate, hatred towards Muslims and minorities, particularly Muslims, but he does not hold uh, a different view for Christians also. He does not hold different view on other minorities as well, particularly Sikhs also. But he is more hateful towards Muslims, coming straight away to this campaign. This was the campaign full of hate speeches by Mr. Narendra Modi. He called Muslims as, in Hindi it is called Ghuspatiye, uh, that is, immigrants, illegal occupants, the entire population. And similarly, he name called Muslims as, in Hindi he called Jada Bachche Paida Karne Wale, the people uh, who who have more children, which is not statistically correct. The census data and other data speak otherwise. So the many speeches, he uses these kinds of terms. Like when Congress party, the biggest opposition party here in India and ruling party for 6 decades, uh, gave put forward their manifesto. So, and there was not a word written about Muslim there in their manifesto. They speak about minorities, they speak about vulnerable sections of society where their policies would be directed if they come to power. But Mr. Modi said in his speeches, and many speeches, that Congress manifesto is inspired by Muslim League. Muslim League was a party of Jinnah, the first president of Pakistan, and who has been blamed for partition. And this Muslim League was his party. So this was Narendra Modi's campaign, full of hate speeches. Unfortunately, election commission, which should have been neutral, was not seen as neutral as it should have been, as election commissions in the past have been very, very neutral. So we have a model code of conduct here, which is applied when the elections are in process, and that model code of conduct, the first couple of lines speak about that you are not going to appeal for votes in the name of religion. You are not going to vote by spreading hatred against any community. These are the opening lines of model code of conduct. And unfortunately, this is not forcefully applied by election commission. But election results which came after on 4th of June spoke very differently. So the 10 years of Modi rule was like autocratic. We have seen lots of journalists and social activists uh, in jails. We have seen misuse of agencies against politicians. We have seen a media, a corporate-owned media, television media particularly, indulge in hate speech every evening, openly against Muslims. And with that background, we were having elections. Fortunately, Indian people have responded that India will remain a democratic country, India will remain a secular country. And the most significant, I'm not going to micro uh, analysis of the results, who won where from what seats. But end of the day is Mr. Modi's party is 30 odd seats less than majority. So he had to run the government with the allies, with 3, 4 allies. And that's how his alliance, comes around over 290 seats in 542 member of parliament. Opposition this time is very strong. Congress alone is around 100 and opposition is also 240. So, so it's not easy Lok Sabha for Mr. Modi to manipulate. It's not easy Lok Sabha to get things done whichever he wants. So it's going to be very, very challenging. But what signifies the result is that the RSS and BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, and Mr. Modi's idea of Hindu Rashtra, idea of making Hindus as a monolithic religion, Hinduism is not a monolithic religion, has been defeated by the people. There is a place in North India called Ayodhya, which comes in parliamentary constituency called Faizabad. So Ayodhya, a new Ram temple was built, and there was a mosque, 500-year-old mosque, uh, which was demolished on 6th of December 1992. A claim has been made that Lord Ram was born there. This claim was never historically or legally proven, but yet there was a court judgment to build a Ram temple there. Uh, in the same judgment, the court accepted that the bringing down the Babri Masjid was illegal act. And on the same land, the Ram temple was allowed to build. The grand Ram temple has been built. Mr. Modi was there in full glare of camera and TV channels live from there for the inauguration of that temple. BJP lost that seat. BJP lost Ayodhya by huge margin. So this is the resilience and depth of Indian democracy and society. So, and this idea of having a Hindu Rashtra, idea of making Ayodhya as Vatican of Hindus has been defeated by the people. So now we see it was a turning point for Indian election, and we see from here uh, a new India with the people's mandate goes towards secularism, goes towards uh, protecting the constitution. Constitution was a very big issue, and opposition, used that constitution in their narrative, and it has been, responded by the people. Uh, and election was not happened in a level play field. We have a election commission which cannot be said as a neutral election commission. It was tilted towards government, giving lots of concession to the ruling party, and with that, with corporate money, with a media which full of hate, with Prime Minister Modi making hate speeches, and yet people rejected him. Yet people reduced him from the majority to a minority government. Had this election be happened in a level play field, result would have been very different from what we see. So this is what, the takeaway from the election, that India will remain. India has rejected the idea of an autocratic ruler. India has rejected the idea of Hindu as a monolithic religion. And the elections have rejected, the people of India rejected Ayodhya as a Vatican of Hindus and a Hindu Rashtra. Indian people have said in a very forceful voice that India will remain a secular country. The constitution will remain a binding force, and this is what the result describes. And rest the politics will go on. Uh, this is what my opening remark is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Prashant. That's very nice. And I have some questions that I will maybe later on ask you on this. So uh, let us hear from Brother Anas first on his analysis,
Let us
right?
hear what Anas analyze how he does, and then we both
Yeah,
will answer the questions. Yes.
yes, please. Thank you.
So, thank you, Muad, and thank you for Asia Middle East Center for Research and Dialogue for giving me this opportunity. Uh, I will try to share with you my understanding of the recent elections. Though Prashantji has said most of the thing that even I would like to say, but I will add to something as far as the campaign of the BJP is concerned. So, BJP since 2014 onwards, it has very clear in one thing that only Narendra Modi will be its campaign vehicle. He is hugely popular. That no one can deny this fact. Even when the election were around the corner, some agency did a kind of survey uh, that how popular he is. So he was around. He had around 70 plus approval ratings. That was way high than the other leaders. The second is of course Rahul Gandhi of Congress. So even when BJP drafted its manifesto, they named it Modi ki guarantee, which means the guarantee of PM Narendra Modi, which means that he will deliver on every front, like the way he has done. So the manifesto said that since PM Modi promised a grand temple in Ayodhya, he has done that. He promised that he will write down the Article 370, which granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir. Uh, it has done that. And similarly, the Uniform Civil Code, that that according to the understanding of BJP, it will do away with all the privileges and the benefits that has been according to minorities like Muslims, and it will bring every citizen of India at par with the same code as far as their civil matters are concerned. So BJP introduced that a version of that code in one of the states that is called Uttarakhand, that is ruled by BJP. Though there is not much clarity how that code has been implemented over there, but still it made some noise, and it gave the impression that BJP is a party that will put minorities, especially Muslims, into a corner, uh, and that works for BJP, and BJP knows that. So similarly, when BJP drafted its manifesto, it started its campaign. So it was a mix of everything. It was uh, Hindutva. All these things are categorized as Hindutva. Otherwise, Hindutva is a different thing. It's a concept. But when it comes to campaign, political campaign, whenever a leader raises issues like communal issues or something like that, so we, for the sake of convenience, in the media parlance, we call it Hindutva issues. So Hindutva plus development card. And there is one more one thing that we should all admit, that Narendra Modi government, the last 10 years, they have done some they have done some development work that has benefited almost all sections, especially the rural and poor section of the society. Like their scheme for their cheap housing scheme, it is not totally up to the mark, but it has provided cheap houses to a lot of poor people, irrespective of any. It is that has been done without any discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, religion, etc., etc. Similarly, they have rolled out or they have continued the previous government's health scheme. Now it is called Ayush scheme, which is a mixture of traditional Indian medicine and modern ways of healing. So they have been able to provide insurance cover on that, and they have been able to provide a special health card that through which that rural population, poor population, they have been benefiting. And similarly, in terms of administrative matter, uh, I came to know this because I toured some of the areas in UP, and they told me there has been no discrimination. Whenever the police force takes action, apart from certain actions, they show no discrimination against the Muslim. But yes, there were also very clearly prejudiced action against Muslims, like their houses were bulldozed uh, on the slightest pretext of either they were found in violation of housing rules, or some other issue happened. So it was clear. Otherwise, there were little discrimination against them. Then, but despite all these things, BJP was not able to generate that kind of momentum as it should have. So after 1 week of political campaign, they started raising the communal slogans. And PM Modi, as Prashant has said, he went on to call Muslim infiltrators. He went on to call them producer of more children than Hindus. He even went on to say that if Congress party comes to power, it will snatch Mangala Sutra, that is wedding lockets of Hindu women. It said that if Congress comes to power, it will hand over those wedding lockets to Muslim. So that was, in a sense, a height of communal campaign. And but more than anything, it showed that BJP was very nervous. The prime minister was showing fatigue, and he was running out of ideas. His appeal was diminishing. Then slowly, as Prashantji said, that opposition parties who had decided that they will contest this election purely on the issues of on the safeguarding of constitution and social justice. That's why they have Congress party had named its manifesto Nyay Patra, a document of justice, which means they will work for the justice for the poor, rural poor especially, peasants. There was even a movement during the campaign. There was a peasant movement that was going on for months in the state of Punjab and Haryana, which are the agriculture state of India. And there, BJP has suffered a sound drubbing. They have been able to manage only 2 or 3 seats in the state of Haryana. Otherwise, they have lost all the seats. So, uh, opposition leader Rahul Gandhi, he started brandishing that pocketbook size of constitution that Prashantji has just showed. And even yesterday, when on the first day of the new parliament, when opposition MPs they walked into the parliament, they carried copies of uh, that those books. And now it's very interesting that Shanji said that uh, a book like Constitution has become popular, and people are purchasing those books in huge numbers. It is very rare. Perhaps it's very rare that young people or people in general they buy books. So they purchase copies of Constitution. Anyway, that's a very good sign, very healthy sign. And there is the most important for me, this is the most important takeaway of this election, that constitution has come back into the political discourse. And if opposition is able to grab this opportunity, if opposition is able to articulate more properly that how constitution could be under threat, or how constitution could be weapon through which good governance can be run, and if that governance falters, the opposition will highlight those issues. And if opposition is able to highlight those issues properly and gherao or matlab, put the government to a corner, so the things may change in favor of the opposition in coming years. So this is my say on the election.
Thank you so much, Brother
And
Anas.
just to add what Anas has said, that the place where Mr. Modi said in his speech that Muslims are infiltrators, BJP lost that seat.
That's
The
right. Yeah,
place
that is a big
where
point.
Mr. Modi said that this Mangal Sutra would be given to Muslims, BJP lost that seat. the place where Mr. Modi said that if farmers have two buffaloes, one buffalo would be snatched and given to Muslims. That seat BJP has lost. Plus the Ayodhya seat where the Ram temple is built. So that's a very significant, the message from the people that they don't like hate speech. And Modi has invested so much, his entire political life into hate speech. I see a very different future of him now from here onwards. Thank
Okay, so I guess like maybe my first question would be is that now that Modi has understood that there is a shift in voters' priority and them disliking his hate speech policies and hate-driven policies, how would this affect the India's domestic and international politics going forward? You know, are they going to change some things, and how what are those things?
Your question is with me, to me.
Yeah, yeah, you can, Mr. Prashant. Yes, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So soon after taking oath, Mr. Modi was there in Italy in G7 meet, and there was a selfie with Italian Prime Minister Meloni, which was very popular. It was viral on social media in different contexts, but uh, how Mr. Modi is aligning with Meloni describes who Mr. Modi is. If you see the politics of Meloni, Meloni is far right, and there is a sudden resurgence of extreme right politics in Europe. Uh, France is now, Macron has ordered midterm elections of their parliament.
Yeah.
Similar threats are there in Germany. So this right wing is rising, and Mr. Modi personally would like to align, like he was personally aligned with Mr. Donald Trump also. So hate against Muslim may be a bonding common bond globally, but that would not be the Indian position. Indian position on Palestine is still the same. There's minor changes. Mr. Modi has, very cordial relation with Israel, other than what the previous governments had. But today, if Palestine flag is there in UN campus, it is because of India's resolution. And that resolution was sponsored and moved by India after Modi came to power. So there is some institutional legacies are there, which Mr. Modi has to follow in international politics as well. So he's not, take this politics of hate beyond the boundaries of uh, India. Then, secondly, the politics of hate may not be a very, very good business because we do lots of good business with Gulf countries. Our energy security comes from that, and and through social media, the world is interconnected now in thousands of times better than earlier times. So we have seen social media campaigns against those people who living in Gulf countries. If they indulge in hate speech against Muslims, they've been deported or they've been boycotted or something like that. So it's not going to. And the biggest uh, foreign exchange remittance comes from Gulf countries.
Yeah.
So
So I
we,
wanted to ask, like, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask, like, you, as you have mentioned rightfully, that there's a big shift into the right, extreme right in politics, even in Europe. Now, now that they have seen India's elections, how would India's election results be a warning sign to the extreme right in Europe?
see, in Europe, it is seen as rising and emerging threat. In India, it is receding. The election trend shows that it is receding. Secondly, uh, India speaks many languages. We have hundreds of languages. We have many cultures. So India is different from France and Italy and Germany. Those countries speak mainly speak one or two languages. India speaks more than hundreds of languages. India is a huge country, and we are a huge cultural and religious diversity. Our minority is also very sizable. It's not like just 1% or 2% of the population. It's a sizable minority, and and it would be a different story from India. How other people, the West see India as a market, as a huge market potential for their products. They see India as a huge, global power in South Asia. Uh, we are a country with a bomb. We are a nuclear powered country, nuclear weapon country. So India's strategic position is different from many countries. So Europe see India in many, in a multi-layered context. Like we in India is, the China. If China is an emerging threat for Europe and West, India can be, a place. India can be a candidate to replace China, to neutralize China in some way or the other. So global powers see India in a different way. What Mr. Modi as Prime Minister, goes here and there and gets lots of attention because of those India's, legacy and the power of our democracy, of our secularism. This is what why Pope was embarrassing Mr. Modi. Why he was hugging Mr. Modi. Pope would be knowing who Mr. Modi is, what his background is, but he was hugging a Prime Minister from India, which has a very strong secular values enshrined in our constitution and democratic processes. So India for the world is a different country, uh, other than what the ruling party or XYZ party here exist and become very powerful.
Okay, that's very nice. Thank you so much, Brother Prashant. And let me ask Anas about, if you can help me understand the rising stars in Indian politics, especially when it comes to the opposition. What are the figures that we should be watching out for, and how did they get to where they are now?
Like the first name that will come naturally to anybody is that of Rahul Gandhi, now who is now the leader of the opposition in the lower house of the parliament. He, in a sense, should be a man of the match of this Indian election, because he was the person who raised all the pertinent issues in the elections. He was the one who said that the constitution should be at the forefront of any political discourse, and the unemployment, the issues like unemployment, rural distress, all these things, they should be discussed instead of emotional issues. He was the person who went on two on foot walks the countrywide votes. Before the election, I think, and one was culminated just before the elections, and he sensitized the population, media, uh, and the political class that how the relevant issues should be raised on the political platforms, and the whole discourse, it can be molded in a way that only it will focus the relevant issues, not the emotional issues. Those are raised by the ruling party and its leaders. So one is Rahul Gandhi. Now second is his sister Priyanka Gandhi, who is a popular leader. She is a Nehru Gandhi, who comes from the Nehru Gandhi family. Now she is entering the electoral politics. She will contest the election from one of the seats in Kerala. Then there is one more person, though he doesn't deserve much credit, but since his party has done remarkably well, that is Akhilesh Yadav. He is young. He is the leader of a Samajwadi Party, the Socialist Party in the province of Uttar Pradesh. There stands the maximum number of members to the parliament. So his party has won around 37 seats, and the kind of caste coalition, because the caste dynamics, they are very important in India, especially in the central and north India, or I can say in the whole of India, perhaps. So the way he forged a kind of caste engineering, that was remarkable. It beat the BJP in its game, because the most potent counter to the politics of communal politics of BJP is the caste politics, and whoever can play it well, it can hoodwink the BJP. So Akhilesh Yadav is there, and then who I can name? Who could be other people, Prashantji, apart from these people? The young stars of these elections?
And Nitish, no, Tejasvi Yadav.
No, 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 not Tejas Yadav. Tejas Yadav, in my sense, is a loser. He could have won more seat than he has managed. But
Akhilesh Yadav, and I would mention Abhishek Banerjee from West Bengal. Yes.
yes, Abhishek
Mahua
Banerjee.
Moitra, Mahua Moitra is a very excellent parliamentarian.
Yeah,
And
Mohammed.
we should mention Stalin, a very
Yes,
firm leader from South,
yes, yes.
and is known for his social justice policies.
Right, right. MP Style is the chief minister of southern state Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu is one of the foremost state as far as the developments is concerned. And he is running a very successful government in Tamil Nadu, and he is a socialist politician. Against, he is a politician whose politics against the communal politics of BJP. And the Mahua Moitra, who Prashantji named, she is a very fiery politician from a Trinamool Congress party of West Bengal. And Mamta Banerjee, I think you must have heard her name. Mamta Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, she comes from her party. And Mahua Moitra was the person who was disqualified from parliament in the last session because of, I think, perhaps her very vocal stance against PM Modi and his party. So all these leaders together, they are the people that we should watch out for, and I'm sure they will keep raising the relevant issues in a very elegant voice, and if they are lucky, they will rise further.
Thank you so much. So, and my next question is regarding the Supreme Court. So, maybe I can give to Brother Prashant. What is the role that, be it negative or positive, that the Supreme Court or the judicial system has actually played in protecting the secular constitution of India? Because I can understand that in any country, governments, no matter how democratic it is, they would have some influence or another on the judiciary.
Yeah. See, it's a very no complex question, not easy to answer. See, in Indian system, we are different from American and other democracies. in Indian system, in Indian state, we have the constitution is the supreme, and parliament, the legislature, executive, the government, and the judiciary, they are the equal pillars of a state. And the constitution is above three, all three. And there is a separation of power very well defined in the constitution. A. And secondly, Indian judiciary is, I would say, the most powerful judiciary in the world, because nowhere in the world judges appoint themselves. Here in Indian judiciary, judges appoint themselves.
Okay. How does that work?
There is a collegium of 5 judges of Supreme Court,
Okay.
and they take recommendation from various high courts and from the Supreme Court, and they send the names to the government, and the government is bound to appoint them. Their
Okay.
advisory to the government is binding.
Okay. But then that doesn't that become an institution which basically appoints itself? And is there a danger to democracy in this, or is it
No, because
okay?
that's what I say. Ki very clear demarcation of separation of powers are there in the constitution. Plus, uh, see, constitution is above three. So Supreme Court is made as the watchman for the Constitution of India. Supreme Court has the power of judicial review also. That if Parliament passes a law, Parliament it passes a law, it can be turned down by Supreme Court if it
Okay.
violates the Constitution spirit and the letter.
So
So
I'm guessing like, yeah, go on.
so that's the unique distinction of Supreme Court we have. But you know, there has been erosion of institution. It depends on individuals, depends on circumstances. So last few years, many judgments of Supreme Court has been subjected to criticism, and we can criticize Supreme Court judgments. The citizen of India, has the legal immunity. We cannot write or say about the intent of judges, but we can criticize the judgments. So the Supreme Court of late has been, very tragically, that Supreme Court has not been asserting itself. But one of the biggest scams just before the election came because of Supreme Court, the electoral funding scam. And Supreme Court insisted that all the names be come out and discuss. That was a huge blow to the image of Mr. Narendra Modi. The Supreme Court is powerful. Supreme Court, we look forward to Supreme Court for justice. But a fair criticism is that Supreme Court has not been asserting itself. The role has been assigned by the Constitution. Like many people are still in jail on frivolous charges, and Supreme Court is sitting on those petitions. So in that way, Supreme Court should look inside itself and respond to that whether Supreme Court is still, doing justice to its role as protector of Constitution of India. I think there is a dilution of that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Brother Anas, maybe you can touch up on, we understand now what has happened in the domestic politics and after the elections as well. Now, we also now step back to try to understand the geopolitics where India plays, especially now we see the US and NATO targeting Russia, and at the same time, we do understand that most likely after that, their next step would be China through Taiwan or other places. But this brings instability to the Asian region, and for many Asians, we do not want the kind of destructive policies which we see in the Middle East to come to Asia. So how do you think India's new government or parliament that is more how do you say balanced maybe to counter any kind of aggressive international politics that India might play, that might actually further escalate regional tensions?
Well, in my opinion, what uh, in the last 10 years, one more remarkable thing that the Modi government was to balance its foreign policy vis-a-vis different superpowers. Recently, when Russia and Ukraine war broke out, and there was a tremendous pressure from the West, from the US, that India should sacrifice its ties with Russia and should align with the US-led, in a sense, world coalition uh, to contain Russia as well as China. But India categorically refused. And India's foreign minister S. Jaishankar, he on several platforms, he schooled foreign diplomats from the West and the US that you should not think that your problem is the world's problem. Kind of understanding you have forged over the years that the problems of the Western nations are the problems of the world. But now the scenario has changed. Now the realities of the world orders are different. Now there are countries who are uh, emphasizing, who are asserting their strategic autonomy, and India is a very significant power. That's why India is today part of all the major groupings. India is part of SCO, India is part of Quad, India is part of I2U2, India is a leading voice of the global south, which means of the developing countries. And plus, it is embedded in India's foreign policy doctrine that uh, India will uh, try to bet for the case of Asia on the world stage. First, it is Asia that is the first priority of India. That's why in 2014, when Mr. Modi took oath, he had invited all the leaders of the neighboring Asian countries. Similarly, when he took oath in 2019, he had invited leaders of Asian countries of a different bloc. But unfortunately, that didn't go well. So, uh, uh, Indian foreign policy has been very consistent. And perhaps we can say that it was, in a sense, extension of the foreign policy, which was uh, adopted by the previous UPA government, previous Congress-led government. And Mr. Modi, in a sense, has given it a new color. So I don't think that India will buckle under the pressure from the US, from the West, and it will try to become a vehicle of the West to contain China, especially to China. And it will never ever take any step against Russia. It will always strike a balance between uh, 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 having relation with Russia, with US, with China, even with the Middle East. Even in the Middle East, as Prashant just elaborated, that India has very friendly ties with the Gulf countries. In a sense, a huge number of Indian workforce reside in the Gulf. Recently, I did analysis piece for one of the portal, and when I was doing a research for that, I came to know that Indians run the Gulf. Like Indian techies run the tech sector of US. Similarly, Indian professionals, they run the Gulf. So India will never ever try to uh, uh, mar its relation with the Western countries. Similarly, on the issue of Israel and Palestine, India has struck a very fine balance. Prashantji said that it is because of India that Palestinian flags has a place of honor at the UN. And India has categorically said that it supports the two-state solution. It recognizes Palestine, it recognizes Israel. Similarly, India has very cordial ties with Iran, India has very cordial ties with Saudi Arabia, and India will continue to do so. So,
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Anas. Your voice, I think your mic has an issue as well because it is creating some sound as well. So sometimes we do not hear you properly. Um, so okay, yeah, there's some sound on your mic, I think. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, so Prashant, if you can maybe let me know, or maybe this will be the last question for both of you, where you both can actually uh, tell me one takeaway from the Indian elections of how it would be in the next 5 years, where India is going. That would be great.
See, Indian society is in a very transformative uh, situation. So there is a huge uh, subaltern class, marginalized sections. Even after partition, the middle class of Muslims, went to Pakistan. So a huge, big part of middle class, Muslim middle class went to Pakistan. Then there's a huge 80% of the population which was in the margins of society. Some even face untouchability also. Still, in very conservative parts, this untouchability part is there. So, but now because of constitution, because of reservation, because of education, and continuance of democracy in whatever way. Sometimes, it's good or bad, but, there's never been a period where there's no democracy. There's never been a period where there's a martial law. There's never been a period where there's a dictatorship. So very briefly, there was an emergency, but that emergency was also a very short-lived, and constitution as a whole was not suspended. Only few fundamental rights were suspended, and that was a very short period, some 50 years ago. And from that, we had consistent elections, constant elections. So, with that, what is happening is that, which has been aggravated by the technology, by the Google, IT sector, artificial intelligence now, a new middle class has come. And that middle class is, the new middle class is coming from Muslims. This new middle class coming from sections which are marginalized in society. And this new middle class is full of aspirations, full of talent, full of aspirations, exposed to uh, skills and education and internet, social media and everything. So you see lots of social media influences are coming from these marginalized sections and minorities and Muslims. That would change India's, character, India's politics, India's economic policies. As Anas was mentioning about the manifestos, those manifestos will be implemented, whichever government will come, because that sizable new middle class is coming, and this middle class is very powerful. It has a huge voice, and it has a very a new white collar people. And these new white collar people are intellectuals, filmmakers, documentary makers, authors, lawyers, judges, all these coming from this new middle class. And that would change the India's policies and texture of politics and parliamentary politics and media, everything. So it's a very huge, it will change everything. Just give me 1 minute, I'll come back.
Okay. So, Brother Anas, maybe you can continue on this.
Yeah, you're right. He was right that now the pressure is from the Indian middle class, especially the educated ones, especially from the youth. Like when we are discussing, we are holding this webinar, Muad, the burning issue India is right now the cancellation and the cancellation of a major exam in India, uh, and cheating in another exam. So both these exams, they are national level exams, and they decide the future of a number of youth. And since similar kind of cheating happened only a month before, just when the election were around, our recruitment exam for the police forces, it was cancelled. So the youth, they were on the road. They are again on the road. Now their voice, now their issue will reverberate in the parliament when it will formally assemble after the election of the Lok Sabha speaker. So unless the government will listen to such kind of issues, it will act to address such kind of issues. It will lose its credibility further. There are assembly elections coming, like in September. Perhaps Jammu and Kashmir will go to elections. Then in October and November, Maharashtra, Haryana, and there is one more state, Jharkhand. They will go to election. These three states are key states. If BJP loses power there, so the possibility is that uh, the government may, and there could be midterm polls. The possibility is that. So the government will have to start listening to the voice on the ground very fast. And I want to add one more thing, Muad.
Yep, sure.
Since we were discussing the election result, there was one more interesting thing that should be noted, that though BJP lost the confidence of the rural population, subaltern population, and the peasantry classes, but it has managed to retain the confidence of the urban educated middle classes. Its vote share has even increased the vote share from the middle class and the urban class. For the BJP has much. So, but that doesn't mean that those people they have voted for the BJP because of emotional appeal or because of the issues, the kind of issues they raised. It is only because, as Prashantji said, because they're aspirational. They think that this government will deliver. So the government will have to deliver, and it will have to deliver very fast, because there has been a well, widespread youth distress, rural distress, farm distress. So unless if these issues are left unaddressed, uh, the government will lose the upcoming elections.
I
Thank you
just
so
want
much.
to add one thing.
Yep.
What I was saying and what Anas is concluding is that the middle class we had so far has been predominantly Hindu upper caste middle class, where the BJP has a very strong constituency. The new middle class, which I am mentioning, the new middle class is very inclusive. New middle class is very diverse. So new middle class is coming from people who have been suppressed for centuries. The new middle class been coming from Muslims. So, and they are very, skill wise, they are very sound. They are aspirational, but they are also skill wise very sound. They're educated people. They are doing scholarship, they are doing PhDs, they are engineers, doctors, scientists, lawyers, and judges. So this new middle class will change India for long, long time to come, and it's very diverse.
It's good to hear. That's good to hear. So, okay. So, Brother Prashant and Brother Anas, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully, what you have said will go towards, for as a reference for a lot of our fellows as well as university students and PhD holders. And Brother Anas, would you like to add anything? Because I see that you are.
The only thing I can add is like, since this election was also about the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and
Yeah.
he is strongest leader that India has seen in the last 40 years. And recently, I was listening to an interview of a very renowned South Asia scholar. Since he has some connections with the organization from which Mr. Modi comes from. So he said his organization has agreed for a post-Modi dispensation. So the way I was saying that if they lose the upcoming elections, the three assembly elections, so we in the next year we may see another government, another leader on the horizon. We may see be a curtain down on Mr. Modi, who has been a very strong leader. But it could also be completely otherwise. That he will continue to uh, he will complete his 5 year term, and the possibility is that he might even emerge stronger, and he will continue like Mr. Erdogan has continued in Turkey. So
Yeah,
even
but many would say Erdogan's time is also slowly up now. So, yeah,
Anyway, let's hope for the best. As an Indian and as an Asian, I would hope that whatever good they have been pursuing in terms of policies, they will continue to do that. And as we have said that since now India, like all the other countries in the world, are facing new realities of the time, and the sooner the new government will wake up to those realities, the sooner the better it would be for us and for Asia and for the world.
yeah. Thank you so much. All right, so brothers, have a nice day. Again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you again in person as well. If you ever come to Istanbul or Malaysia, please let us know.
Thank you and look forward. Much enjoyable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
You
much.
too, guys.
I look forward
See
to
you.
it. See you. Bye.